since taking office in May 2023, Governor Duada Lawal has initiated several development projects in Zamfara State, focusing on addressing inherited challenges like insecurity, poverty, and decayed infrastructure. His administration's 6 Smart Agenda emphasizes security, education, healthcare, infrastructure, and economic empowerment. In this interview with Rufai Oseni, Governor Lawal spoke on the development in his state. Let's take a look.
For our state is a state we're taking a deep dive into today. Rich in resource, but it's a contrast because it's also filled with a lot of developmental issues. And we have no other person than the governor, Governor Duada Lawal, to tell us about the prospect of the state and as we look forward to the development. And thank you so much for being here. We've been tracking this interview for a while. You just arrived, and thank you so much for deciding to speak to me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Rufai.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about your mile suit as you walked in, and that will lead me to my first question.
Yes.
Our budget benchmark is $75. You presented a budget of over $500 billion.
Absolutely.
With all of the Trump assault on the global market.
Yeah.
Crude oil prices got up to about $56. Now it's stabilized about $60 per barrel.
Absolutely.
That will definitely affect your over $500 billion budget. What are you going to do?
Well, I guess, budget is a process, and we've gone through it. We analyze everything. And of course, along the line, there may be one issue or the other. But let me say this. We're ready to face those challenges because there's always an alternative in terms of budgetary process as well as execution of that budget, because inflation is a factor. Price stabilization, like you rightly mentioned about the crude oil, because we're purely dependent on oil as a country, and that is where the major source of revenue comes from. But of course, diversification is key. Agriculture is there. Mining is there, and this is what we specialize in Zamfara State. I'm sure you know our motto is farming is our pride, as well as we're trying to make mining formal so as to attract investors. If we're able to do that successfully, which we've already started the process, I don't think that should be an issue for us in Zamfara State.
How quickly can you harness it, owing to the fact that you've got insecurity challenges? Just recently in Safe, about 60 people were affected, were hurt, and we've heard a litany of issues as regards insecurity in that region. And most importantly, when you have a deep dive in Zamfara State, how quickly can you attract these people for the mining?
I think things are changing for the better. Like you rightly pointed out, Zamfara is facing serious security challenges in the past because things have changed. Remember, it's something that I've inherited for over a decade. And part of what we're doing is to make conscious effort to make sure we reduce the minimum level. It's one of the reasons why when I came into power, I had to set up my own security outfit. And they're doing very well. I'm sure you're following the news. In the past, you will hear that 100 people are being killed, 200 people are being killed on a daily basis. But now you hardly hear that. There may be some pocket of attacks. Well, Safi, I'm not even sure about the number because I'm still trying to verify the information. I don't have the actual number. Yes, there was an incident, but I don't think it's up to 60 people that are abducted. No, it's not correct. But yes, something happened. But we'll get the right figure.
What are your sources on ground telling you about regards the number?
The security forces, I have all the security forces. I also have my internal arrangement where I can also get information. But what I was told is not up to that number of people that were abducted. And in fact, most of these guys were set free because there was a kind of quick response when that incident happened. Remember, about 2 weeks ago, we succeeded in neutralizing one of the major bandits in our fellow local government called Yusuf Yellow. And so now, of course, we expect that kind of retaliatory attack, and that is what is happening. But I can assure you, we are on ground. So, coming back to the issue, we're tackling security head on, and as we speak, last week, we had a very, very interesting investor that we went around Anchor local government, where already there was a factory, but because of the mining ban, it wasn't functioning. But now, within the next, maybe before the end of this month, it will start functioning. And when that starts, that is cash call for Zamfara State.
Okay, so you talked about neutralizing the big bandit head, and that was what led to, the incident in Safi. You also said, based on your local security network there, that the number was not up to 60. We're still trying to get, that exact number
Absolutely.
from you.
I will confirm that to you once I have the actual figure.
I know, based on the security situation, you had an impasse with the current Minister of State for Defense. Has that been sorted out now? Because it was not a very happy moment between the man that also happens to be in that position before you got there.
Like I always said, there's always political issue when it comes to insecurity in Zamfara State. Like you rightly pointed out, the immediate past governor of Zamfara State happens to be the current Minister...
State for Defense.
State for Defense, yeah. Sorry. But has that made any significant changes as far as security is concerned in Zamfara State? The answer is no.
Why is it no?
Because he's not doing anything to bring out the security, to take care of the security situation.
But he said he was
There have been so many attacks in his local government. What has he done?
But he said he's been doing something. In fact, in a rebuttal interview, he said, you are the problem.
I have never been the problem. You saw me when I visited the NSA. You saw me when I visited the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, and all the security agencies. Even the Minister of Defense. I was there in his office to discuss about what? Security challenges in Zamfara State. And this
synergy. Did you visit him?
Well, I saw the senior minister. So it's the same ministry. It doesn't matter whether he was there.
As your kinsman from the same Zamfara State, wasn't it just right to visit him and just...
I was in Ministry of Defense to see the Minister of Defense, and I saw Badaro. Badaro is the senior minister. So whatever we discuss, I believe, is about defense, is about the ministry. So it doesn't matter whether Matawalle was there or not. But he knew I was going there anyway, so why was he not there in attendance?
So is it that both of you don't see eye to eye, you don't speak?
I don't have any...
Because this thief at some point has to seize for the interest of the states.
Rufai, I'll be the happiest person if there's peace in Zamfara State because I am the governor. So whatever happens, good or bad, I take responsibility. What I always said is there's a need for collaboration, not just the Minister of Defense, anybody that can help to bring about the security situation, to bring peace into Zamfara State. I'm happy and I'm ready to work with that person. So it doesn't matter about Minister of Defense. Anybody, if you have anything to offer, I would definitely work with you.
Okay, so you're extending an olive branch to Mr. Matawalle?
Absolutely.
As we speak?
He is ever
welcome. When last
welcome.
have you called him up?
Matawalle?
Yeah.
Sorry?
When last have you called him up? Have you called him up to...
No. We honestly, we hardly speak. But like I said, if he extends that hand of friendship, Zamfara is his state. He has no other state than Zamfara. So whatever he can do, I don't even need to know. As far as security is concerned, he is the current Minister of State for Defense.
Okay. Let's talk other issues. Zamfara has one of the highest numbers in child labor. And it's a very big problem. Prior to this time, I know you sorted out WAEC fees were not being paid, the educational situation was not a good one. I want you to speak through this human development indices and also the healthcare sector, because these are part of the things that are going to take that bulk of your over 500 billion budget.
Absolutely. Like you rightly pointed out, when I took over as a governor, Zamfara State was in a mess in every aspect of life, be it security at the highest level, education at the bottom, healthcare at the bottom, human development capacity almost non-existent. And it's one reason why I had to declare state of emergency in education as well as health care. Remember, when I took over, there was nothing in our treasury. So many debts.
Nothing in the treasury?
Nothing. I only inherited
So you're saying Matawalle left nothing there?
I only inherited 4 million naira. The records are there. With all sort of liabilities, ranging from backlog of salaries, 4.5 months, judiciary, owing 1.6 billion, WAEC, 1.6 billion, NACO, 1.4 billion, and so many other challenges, which I had to face head on. The first thing I did was to clear the backlog of those salaries. I had to make sure I went into some kind of agreement with WAEC as well as NACO so that our children can sit for WAEC and NACO. And not only that, to also be able to get some of those certificates, the one they wrote in the past, that they were not able to collect because of non-payment. There was not a single drop of water for 5 months in Zamfara State when I took over. And we were able to solve that in just 3 days. So, in fact, the liabilities is unbelievable. But as a leader, I had to find a way to be able to take care of that. Let me remind you, Rifai, when I took over, the salary of a civil servant in Zamfara State was 7,000 naira. Just 7,000 across the state and local government. I had to quickly do what I had to do to jack it up to then the minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Not only that, since 2011, pensioners were not paid to the tune of 16.5 billion, which I was able to settle everybody as at last month. That has been cleared. Every civil servant from 2011 pension was cleared. And we're now paying the 70,000 minimum wage. Now, let's go back to education. When I declare state of emergency in education, it has to be holistic. If you look at the condition of our schools at the time, it's unbelievable. So as we speak now, we're able to turn things around. We have renovated over 400 schools, fully renovated, furnished, across all the 40 local governments of the state. We've settled NACO, we've settled WAEC, and other liabilities, like scholarship. We're able to settle our student in Sudan. We're able to settle our student in India. And we're now in the process of finalizing Cyprus.
Okay.
This is what we're doing in education.
So you've had that in education, declared state of emergency. How about teachers? How about infrastructure? I know you picked up the airport project. That one too, you said that the former government couldn't do anything as regards that, and you picked it up from start. Where is that project today? A lot of people have argued, why do you need an airport in Zamfara State?
We need
That's another white elephant thing. That's the argument people say.
Look, let me tell you, it's a combination of so many things we're doing. The priority was, of course, on education, because without education, you'll not be able to do anything. And you're putting the future of our children in danger. So that was the first thing we did, education. That was when we were able to rehabilitate all the schools. As we speak, after rehabilitating those schools, we're employing 500 teachers, having realized also there's a gap there, because it's a different thing to have the buildings. It's another thing to have the right set of people that will be able to teach
in the buildings.
In the building. So the process is on. We're recruiting 500 teachers now in specialized fields, sciences, mathematics, IT, because these are basic things that you need.
STEM.
Exactly. Now, coming back to airports, with all this issue of volatility in oil price and everything that you're talking about, we need to have solid industries in Zamfara State. There is no meaningful investor that will drive from Abuja, for example, all the way to Zamfara by road, spending 7 hours on the road. And that's what I do whenever I come to Abuja or going back to Zamfara. You think it is something that any investor will do with all the challenge of insecurity? Of course, you need to open up the states. And open up the state means you need to have an airport. And I'm happy to tell you that that airport is near completion. Within the next 3 to 4 months, you'll be able to fly into Zamfara State. And that is the beginning of good things for Zamfara State. Because the state now is accessible. All this issue of insecurity here and there, people traveling by road, fear of being attacked or this, it will become history. Now, coming back to infrastructure. When I took over, there was no, you cannot travel 200 meters in Gusau capital on a good road. Whenever it rains, everywhere is flooded. Go and see now what we have done in that regards. And that also creates employment because it brings about business activities. You're paying salaries as at when from 7,000 to 30,000, 30,000 to 70,000. You have cleared 16.6 billion of pension since 2011 to date. I mean, that is something.
Okay.
IGR.
Yeah, IGR.
When I took over the IGR of Zamfara State, guess what? It was 90 million naira. 90. Internally generated revenue of the state. And that 90 million, 90% was payee. But now, we're talking about 2 billion plus.
From 90 million naira.
Exactly.
To 2 billion plus.
To 2 billion plus.
Have you ramped that
Well,
up?
I mean, we're able to do a lot of, shake-ups here and there, making sure all the leakages are being blocked. So the actual revenue will come to government. And it's on an incremental basis, on a month-by-month basis.
Okay. But you see, despite all of this success story you've talked about, from my research, these are the things your critics, and there will be critics.
Of course.
Your critics say about you. I'll read some of them out.
Yeah.
Blaming the predecessor. They say you blame Matawalle for everything. Neglect of rural areas. Frequent absences from the states. Slow policy implementation. Lack of stakeholder engagements. Perceived arrogance. So you cannot, these are whatever. Failure to curb banditry. They would make mention of things like Safe, escalating insecurity. Safe Funtua Road, what has just happened, you said it's not up to 60 and all of that. These are some of the things.
How many times have you had any attacks in Zamfara State within the last 2 years? You can count the numbers. So for anybody to talk about not being serious in terms of insecurity, that's just a political statement. That is one. 2, stakeholders engagement. Let me tell you, Rufai, when I took over, you won't believe we had 49 commissioners, 52 permanent secretaries. Not even federal government has that number of permanent secretaries. So we had to do a lot of shake-up to trim this system, the administration, to a manageable number. I can tell you that we only have 16 commissioners and 20 permanent secretaries. Those are some of the changes. And those are things that must be done. And it takes political will to do that. For anybody to say that I don't stay in Zamfara State, that is also a big lie. It's just a political statement. If there's any governor today in Nigeria that stays in his capital, I think I'm number one. Now, with all these challenges of insecurity, infrastructure, education, healthcare, and so on and so forth, and with the budget, if I just sit down in Zamfara State or in Gusau, doing what? I have to go out to look for other sources to be able to do what we're doing. With the quantum of infrastructure development in Zamfara State, where do you think we're getting the money? With renovation and upliftment of over 400 schools across the state, where do we get the money? With the payment of all this backlog of salaries, pension, where do you think we're getting the money?
Are you borrowing?
We are not borrowing.
How are you getting it?
We did not borrow a dime.
So how are you
up
getting
to
the money?
Today, but we're financially okay as a state.
So how are you getting the money if you're not borrowing?
Well, you have to go and look for other sources. There are development partners. In the area of education, the World Bank is there, UNICEF is there, UNDP is there. And these people, you need to go there. If you sit down and say they should come to Zamfara, you think they'll just drive and come to Zamfara. You have to do the network. The networking is what matters. And you cannot sit at your comfort zone and think all this thing will come to you.
What about the neglect of rural areas? That's what a lot of them are saying. They're saying all the show happens in Gusau.
That is not true.
That's
in
what
fact,
they're saying.
let me tell you, I'm extending a special invitation to you, and I'll take you around all the 14 local governments. There is no local government in Zamfara State that we don't have a project of about 5 billion naira.
Happening there.
Exactly. And also, the budgeting process. We do bottom-top budgeting process by going to those local governments to understand what they need. What people are saying is we're building roads in Gusau, and we have to, because Gusau is the capital of Zamfara State, for goodness sake.
But what about, what about the rural areas?
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure the state is a befitting state. First impression counts a lot. If I take you to Zamfara today, and then you see the kind of roads and infrastructure that we have, what would be your impression about the state as a whole? I'm sure it will be negative. Now, coming back to other local governments, there are local governments in Zamfara State that have very good road network. Guess what they do? It's only animals that fly those roads. So they don't need roads, but they need hospitals, they need schools, they need water. That's what we're doing. Go to every local government in Zamfara State. There is no local government that does not feel the presence of government.
So are you saying that all the 14 local governments have portable government running
Absolutely.
water?
There's water in all the local governments.
And there's hospital?
There's hospital.
That has medicine for the people when they're sick?
Medicine, exactly. And
there are doctors there?
Absolutely. Go there and see.
And Mr. Governor, you are overseeing everything and you're seeing it's working like clockwork?
Absolutely. Let me tell you what we've done.
Yeah.
Out of the 14 local governments in the state, in Nasarawa was the first fully functional renovated hospital with the state-of-the-art technology. Go there and see. Our eyes were there because we did it live. Go to Maradun, the local government of my predecessor. They have a brand new hospital there with state-of-the-art equipment. Go to Maru, that's another local government. They have a brand new hospital there with state-of-the-art equipment with doctors. Go to Karana Moda, brand new hospital, state-of-the-art equipment. We're doing Gusau now, the specialist hospital, as well as General Hospital in Gusau. We're going to commission that in May next month. Latest technology. Go to Safi, brand new hospital. Apart from the primary healthcare centers, we have so far renovated over 70 primary healthcare centers in Zamfara State. So for anybody to say we're not there at local level, it's just political statements. Seeing is believing. I challenge you to go there.
Very good one. Yeah. And I'm sure the challenge is thrown out there.
Tomorrow, I'll take you to Zamfara and show you all these things.
Let's talk national issues.
Yes.
Governors are jittery with what happened in Rivers State, with a state of emergency because of a political imbroglio. What say you as regards that declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers?
I'm against it. Absolutely. And I didn't hide it. I'm one of those governors that went to court to challenge that process.
Yes, we saw it.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's wrong.
Is he an aberration?
Absolutely.
Is he unconstitutional?
Absolutely. All the facts are there.
You think it's political high-handedness?
Well, it's a combination of so many factors, but we'll get to the end of it.
Do you think or do you fear that at some point this your fight with Matawalle can be settled with the state of emergency? With the way it's going?
I'm not the president.
You feel the president was wrong in that decision?
For Port Harcourt, Rivers?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a wrong decision.
Because that's the feel and the jive that everybody is having now.
Do you think it was the right thing as a journalist?
Oh, my point of view has always been it's wrong.
Exactly.
It's an aberration.
Exactly.
I mean, we shouldn't have that as a way to settle political crises.
Exactly.
Let's talk about unemployment in your state. It's some number.
Of course. Rufai, look, I took over a dysfunctional system where nothing exists. No process, no planning, no budgeting, financial indiscipline, everything negative.
And those were done by your predecessor, right?
Exactly.
Matawalle?
Was I the one that did that?
So those were done by your predecessor?
Absolutely. Who was there before me? Who was there?
Your predecessor, Matawalle, was there.
So, was that my making? The answer is no.
How are you fixing it?
Exactly.
Because part of what you say is that you say you blame him for everything.
No.
So how are you fixing it?
These are facts, Rufai. It's not about blame. Blame is when things don't exist. These are facts. We're not making up stories. Is it not true that we inherited 5-month liability of salaries? KEDCO, when I took over, everywhere was disconnected. All government offices, including Government House, because of non-payment of electricity bills. I had to pay KEDCO 1.6 billion to restore electricity in Zamfara State, especially government offices. Was I the one that created it? Was I the one that refused to pay salaries? Was I the one that refused to pay pensioners? These are questions. So, who did it? It's not a blame game. If things were okay, well, what is my own with Matawalle? I've moved on.
So what are you doing to fix that hunger and poverty in the state?
That's the reason why the problems are multi-dimensional as far as that is concerned, and you have to prioritize. The first thing, like I said to you, security, because without security, there won't be anything. Second fundamental is education. You're aware now, Zamfara is at the top. There was this gifted children that participated national. Zamfara came second after Anambra.
And Zamfara used to be at the bottom of the educational totem pole before.
Exactly. There was this issue of principals, the best principals in the country. Zamfara came first. Go and look at our results now. In WAEC, NACO, we're at the top.
The top of the country?
Go and check.
From being at the bottom?
These are facts, exactly. So it's to tell you that things are working. The declaration of emergency has worked, and we're on it, and we'll continue to get it right. Health sector, have you seen the hospitals?
You've talked about it, but people are still hungry in the state. People are still poor.
That is why what we're doing is
minerals,
we are creating employment. Even the gold, what benefit, all the solid minerals that we have in Zamfara, of what benefit? Why are we the poorest?
Because you've not harnessed it properly for
exactly, and that is exactly what we're doing right now. Rufai is just 2 years now that I took over, and all these changes, positive changes, you think it's just a miracle?
Your Excellency, can you assure me that at the end of your tenure, and I'd like to have this interview with you and have this conversation with you again, that you will have drastically cut poverty rate, hunger rate,
the indices are going down. Let me tell you how you generate economic activities. First of all, salary is there. People get their salary on the 25th of every month. That is one. Two, we're paying pensioners. So every month, on salaries alone, there's over 5 billion naira in circulation in the States.
The salaries alone?
Salaries alone. Remember also, we're doing a lot of construction and reconstruction. Roads, schools, hospitals. That also create employment for laborers, for artisans. If you're bricklayer, iron bender, cement seller, food seller, you generate economic activities. People are busy. And the first thing we did within the first 6 months was to look at the teeming population that are youth. How do we engage them? That was when we created an avenue for them. We employed over 2,000 just to be cleaning the street. They are unskilled workers. And they're being paid salaries, rather than just sitting down idle doing nothing. And now with all the construction going on, there's work. Even the airport alone, when I look in the morning, the number of trucks that takes laborers to the field is a lot number. While we're working also to find something. Right now what we're doing is we are renovating all the skills acquisition centers. They should be ready within the next 1 month. And that is where we engage the youth. We train them skills so that they can be self-reliant. All these are process, Rufai. It's not something you do overnight. You have to go through process. You have to do effective planning. Anything without planning is equals to nothing. So 2 years we're able to do that. Come on. We should be given credit for this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, for your time. And thank you so much for talking to me, Your Excellency, Governor Duada Lawal, the Governor of Zamfara State. It's been a great time having this chat with the Governor of Zamfara State. He's stated all the things he's been able to do in 2 years. And definitely, we will have this interview again a couple of months or a year down the line to check on that progress report in Zamfara State. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.
What a revealing interview. Well done, Rufai. So much revealed. Very solid interview.
Solid.
And, just the insights there alone. I know we don't have time to unpack everything. I know you wanted to react very quickly.
Matawalle needs right of reply.
Definitely.
What is it? 4 million in the coffers when he came into office. The low, he just pretty much said everything was in the toilets when he came in. So, great question. I really like that you focused on the economy, the unemployment, infrastructure, education, the maternal health matters. Great interview. Security. Really good interview. I wish him luck because Zamfara, and the airports, thanks for bringing that up. Arise News was live. We were there for the groundbreaking in the last administration where they did the airport. We all asked the same question. Rufai, great job. And yes, all the governors, it's good that we all come on the show to talk about this. We have to see the work they're doing. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well done. And congratulations to Zamfara State, because it is true, based on statistics, what we're seeing in the news, insecurity has certainly reduced in Zamfara State. So congratulations to the governor. We continue to keep tabs on him.